of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final four.
Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Kripa, the show that gets you ahead of the rest.
I'm Samiksha Srivastava. It's a packed lineup in this edition. The West Asia war is now entering its sixth month with diplomacy still at a standstill. In fact, President Trump is now taking aim at Iran's economy as he promises what he describes as economic warfare and isolation. In fact, Trump has even vowed tremendous punishment for countries that continue to deal with Iran. All that on the show today.
Yes, and also lined up ahead, a new standoff taking shape in Syria. This time Israel and Turkey are at the center of it. Netanyahu says Ankara is seeking a military foothold in Syria. With elections just 2 months away now, Netanyahu is making one thing absolutely clear, that a Turkish military presence in Syria is a red line for Israel. We'll be getting all that and much more. First, the headlines.
India rejects reports of Chinese intrusion along undemarcated Himalayan border. Union Minister Kiren Rijiju dismisses claims that Chinese troops penetrated deep into Arunachal Pradesh after Congress raised concerns.
Donald Trump announces unprecedented economic warfare campaign against Iran, threatening tremendous consequences for countries providing Tehran financial or economic lifelines as the war approaches 6 months now.
Israeli Prime Minister says the country has sent Turkey a clear message against military entrenchment in Syria, tacitly acknowledging a strike near Aleppo and warning that Turkish forces threaten Israel.
Israel's military admits troops fired on a car carrying 5-year-old Hind Rajab in Gaza in 2024, ordering a criminal investigation into her death and also probing 4 other incidents.
Ukrainian authorities say Russian missile strikes pounded Kiev, killing at least 6 people and injuring dozens. Residential buildings damaged, with floors collapsing and people trapped as Moscow intensified long-range attacks.
US President Trump says he plans to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un later this year, reportedly during his November China trip, while he estimates that Pyongyang has 57 nuclear weapons.
Prince Harry and Meghan are reportedly returning to the UK with their 2 children within weeks, planning to settle in a private non-royal residence outside London after 6 years in California.
The US national debt has crossed a staggering $40 trillion mark for the first time. Treasury data shows the debt has more than doubled since 2017, raising concerns over soaring interest costs and America's widening fiscal deficit.
England pacers Ollie Robinson and Josh Tong took 5 wickets apiece as three lions dominated Pakistan in the opening day of the first Test match. Pakistan have been bowled out for 171 as England trailed by 59 runs at 112 for the loss of 2 wickets.
Our top focus on world DNA remains on the West Asia war. It is nearing its 6th month with no immediate diplomatic or military off-ramp in sight.
In fact, President Donald Trump, who's been facing renewed scrutiny over the conflict with the midterm elections approaching in the month of November, has now launched a new campaign against Iran, and this time targeting Tehran's economy.
In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump announced what he described as the most crushing economic operation against any country. The US president called it economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented level. Trump also vowed what he labeled as tremendous punishment on any country that helps or does business with the Islamic Republic. The US president has not yet specified what punishment countries would face, and none other than Iran were mentioned by name.
Trump's remarks come amid continuing tensions between Washington and Tehran over the Strait of Hormuz, which remains a key global energy route. Addressing reporters at the White House, President Trump said that Hormuz was open and that lots of boats were coming through. This came a day after sharing an AI-generated photo which showed the strategic waterway as new US territory.
This was in contradiction to Iran's assertion that the critical waterway remained shut to shipping. Top Iranian negotiator and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Ghalibaf on Wednesday said that Hormuz would remain shut until the US met conditions of the interim deal. These conditions include the US ending its blockade of Iranian ports, lifting oil sanctions, releasing Tehran's frozen assets as well.
A lot of boats are coming through. People aren't reporting that, and that may slow down a little bit at some point, but right now a lot of boats are coming through. The naval blockade has been extremely effective. Literally while it's up, and that's been for quite a while, except for a couple of little pauses where we opened it purposely with a deal, but the deal didn't terminate, the deal didn't turn out to be what they said, when they tell us one thing and they do another.
Earlier, US sources told AFP that Trump has decided to wait and asked his team not to engage in talks until Iran was ready to make a deal. Responding to a question on the South Lawn on whether the US would reopen talks with Iran or not, Trump said maybe at some point. He added that the situation at present was so good, reiterating that Iran must not be allowed to possess nuclear weapons at any cost. Shifting focus then, now with just 2 months left for parliamentary elections, Israeli Prime Minister is now targeting one of his staunch critics, and that is Turkey.
This comes a day after Israel conducted an airstrike targeting a base in northern Syria. Prime Minister Netanyahu has claimed that Turkey is planning to establish a military presence in Syria.
He also added that they had to carry out the aerial assault after Ankara did not heed to Israel's warnings.
Furthermore, Netanyahu said that the IDF has sent a clear message to make Turkey understand that they would not tolerate a Turkish military entrenchment as it threatens Israel.
Following this, Israel's army chief has pledged to not allow threats near the country's border areas. It was during a visit to an Israeli-occupied security zone in southern Syria region. The IDF chief, Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, said that they would not allow hostile forces to establish themselves on their borders.
Meanwhile, head of Israel's spy agency, Roman Goffman, reportedly held a phone call with Syria's foreign minister last week. According to reports, Mossad chief Goffman used the call to inquire about Turkey's provision of arms to Syria's military. It also added that the Mossad chief wanted to know what Turkey is doing in terms of increasing their military presence.
Early on Wednesday, Israeli forces struck an air base in northern Syria near Aleppo. Following this, Israel accused Syria of violating a security pact. However, Turkey called the Israeli actions and the allegations as frivolous.
The U.S. also criticized the attack. U.S. envoy for Syria, Tom Barrack, confirmed that Israel carried out the strikes on the Syrian airbase. He called the attack an unnecessary escalation.
The Hezbollah disarmament agreement is something that...
Staying with Israel, the country's military says it will open internal criminal investigations into the deaths of 5-year-old Palestinian girl Hind Rajab and 15 emergency and aid workers killed in Gaza.
Well, Kripa, adding to that, the decisions follow reviews by the military's fact-finding and assessment mechanism, which examined several incidents involving the deaths of Palestinians. Hind Rajab was trapped inside a car in January 2024 after her family members were killed. She made desperate phone calls to Palestinian medics, asking them to send help.
And when an ambulance arrived, contact with her and the two medics was lost, and 12 days later, their bodies were found. Then in March 2025, 15 emergency aid workers from the Palestinian Red Crescent, Civil Defense and the United Nations were found dead near their damaged and clearly marked vehicles.
The United Nations had called for answers and justice, saying that the workers were killed while trying to save lives. The military, however, said that there was no reasonable suspicion of criminal misconduct in the April 2024 strike that killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers and will not open a criminal investigation into that incident. Israeli rights groups say that investigations into the killing of Palestinians rarely lead to indictments or even convictions.
The Israeli military maintains that its operations target Hamas and other armed groups, not civilians. And for the families of those killed, the focus now shifts to whether these investigations will lead to genuine accountability and justice.
And for now, we shift focus to the latest that we are tracking on the Russia-Ukraine war. At least 6 people have been killed in the latest wave of Russian attacks on Ukraine's capital, Kiev.
This comes as both sides continue to carry out long-range drone strikes. Blasts were heard across Kyiv around midnight after Ukraine's Air Force warned off several incoming ballistic missiles. According to Ukrainian authorities, Russian bombardment killed 6 people and wounded 23 others in Kyiv and surrounding areas. The attacks damaged residential buildings, a medical facility, and an educational institution in the capital.
Earlier in the southern city of Kherson, a Russian drone struck a civilian minibus that killed 4 people and injured another. Images released by Ukrainian police showed shattered windows, a damaged roof, and bloodstains inside the vehicle. Kherson governor accused Russian forces of deliberately targeting civilians, condemning the attacks. It was Ukrainian president who accused Russia of committing a vicious Russian safari against the people of the region.
In Zhytomyr, a drone missile strike hit the main directorate of the National Police building in the region. Eyewitness footage showed the moment of the strike as Ukrainian officials reported that at least 2 police officers were killed and 20 people were injured.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian president has outlined his priorities for the country's newly appointed Defense Minister Yevgeny Kamara. Zelensky said that the minister's main task would be to improve Ukraine's defense system and called for an expanded long-range strike capabilities as well as stronger air defense capacity. Kamara was approved by Ukrainian parliament on Wednesday, which was following the removal of former defense minister Mikhailo Fedorov in July.
My main task for the Minister of Defense of Ukraine in these circumstances is to effectively adjust our defense system, our production and procurement systems, and our supply chain to the armed forces. This adjustment should ensure that the protection of life in Ukraine receives everything necessary to repel Russian attacks, to hold our positions on the front line, and carry out our own active actions and deliver significant blows to Russia in response to its terror.
Meanwhile, Ukraine has continued to carry out drone strikes in Russia's border regions. In Belgorod, a Ukrainian drone struck a civilian vehicle, killing a woman and injuring a man, according to emergency services. In neighboring Bryansk, another drone strike killed a woman and wounded her grandson. Separately, an attack on a shopping center in Bryansk, it injured 2 people as well.
Now, President Donald Trump, in an unusually precise assessment, has said that North Korea now has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons.
This comes during a tour of a new helipad at the White House. The U.S. does not officially recognize North Korea as a nuclear state, and it is unusual for a president to publicly offer such a specific assessment of its stockpiles. But Trump's mention of North Korea having 57 nuclear weapons, this is in line with previous assessments by the U.S. government and think tanks that Pyongyang had an arsenal of 50 to 60.
He has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons. Should have never allowed it to happen. They should have never allowed it. If I were president, I wouldn't have allowed it. But he's got them.
Trump has said that he would meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un later this year, seeking to revive the bond he claims to have struck in his first time in the first meet itself.
Trump met the North Korean leader 3 times during his first term, and their last meeting was in the year 2019. The summits produced few tangible developments on the nuclear issue, and they have not yet met in Trump's second term.
Addressing reporters at the White House, Trump reaffirmed his friendly relationship with Kim Jong-un and highlighted how it was important that they get along.
His statement comes days after he scaled back joint U.S.-South Korean military drills, and in the same address, he also criticized South Korea's lack of support for the U.S. in the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, I didn't like the fact that we're doing these massive military exercises really against North Korea. It was an exercise against North Korea. When I'm friendly with him, when we have, I don't see anything happening for certainly 2.5 years. It's not going to happen with me, but I don't see anything happening. And I was not happy when South Korea said, no, they're not interested in helping us with the Hormuz Strait, and yet they get 60% of their oil from the Hormuz Strait. I said, would you like to help us? He said, no, thank you. I said, that's nice, please, thank you.
Kim's sister said that Pyongyang is more focused on the fact that the annual military exercises are still continuing than on the recent decision to reduce the scale of these drills.
The mystery surrounding the origins of COVID-19 has taken a new turn now.
Well, adding to that, Kripa, a former senior advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci has admitted to having helped conceal U.S. federal records tied to COVID-19 research, thereby raising questions about what officials actually knew, what records were kept, and how much the public was told.
Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci served as chief medical advisor to U.S. President Joe Biden from January 2021 until December 2022, concurrently leading the U.S. federal response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Dr. David Morans pleaded guilty to conspiring to defraud the U.S. government. Prosecutors say that he used personal email account to get around federal records laws while working at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Morins now faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. A US federal judge, Maryland, is scheduled to sentence him on 12th of November.
The case now centers on records connected to COVID-19 research grants. Prosecutors allege Morins concealed or even destroyed communications, including discussions about efforts to restore a controversial grant involving bat coronavirus research. That grant had been cancelled by the US National Institutes of Health.
After concerns emerged over research that involved a laboratory in Wuhan, China, a company receiving the US federal grant had allegedly provided a sub-award to that China-based laboratory. Investigators also say Morins agreed to help revive the grant and push back against claims that the pandemic began with a laboratory leak.
Morins had previously denied trying to evade US federal transparency requirements through his personal email. Although Fauci has not been charged in this case, it has, however, intensified scrutiny on him. During a US congressional hearing in July, Fauci, remember, repeatedly invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, and just last week he declined to appear voluntarily before another US Senate panel after Republicans voted to hold him in contempt of Congress.
But the central question still remains unanswered. How did COVID-19 begin? While US intel agencies remain divided, the FBI and the CIA have assessed a laboratory leak as likely, although the CIA expressed low confidence in its conclusion.
Other US intelligence agencies and the US National Intelligence Council believe that coronavirus most likely emerged via natural transmission from some animal. China has rejected the laboratory leak theory.
In fact, earlier this month, former White House COVID-19 response coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha had publicly said he believes a lab leak is a more likely explanation for COVID-19.
Last year, the World Health Organization had said that all hypotheses on how the pandemic began remain open, adding that pending further data, the origin of COVID and how it spreads remains elusive. The official global COVID-19 death toll reported to the World Health Organization is over 7.11 million people.
So while Morins' guilty plea does not resolve the very origin of COVID-19, it does appear to have opened another chapter behind the pandemic's beginnings.
The globally acclaimed Harvard University has now come under the lens for an organ-selling racket.
Well, it has now agreed to pay a staggering $53 million in order to settle the civil lawsuits in this regard.
Now, this pertains to the dead bodies donated by families to the Harvard Medical School for research and teaching purposes. However, a big scandal unfolded from 2018 to 2020. The then morgue manager, Cedric Lodge, removed organs, brains, skin, hands and other parts from the donated bodies before they could be disposed of. Without the knowledge of his employer or the donor, he and his wife sold and even shipped the body remains to different locations in US, which were resold again. In December last year, Lodge was sentenced to 8 years in prison, whereas his wife got a 1-year jail term.
After Lodge was arrested, the aggrieved families started filing lawsuits against Harvard, thereby accusing it of failing to adequately protect the remains entrusted to it. In wake of all this, the settlement is seen as a bid to avoid prolonged litigation. Apart from the monetary compensation, the Harvard Medical School will also make a statement affirming that the convicts' conduct was morally reprehensible. It has also made a number of changes to its anatomical gift program and will establish an annual financial aid scholarship for medical students in the next academic year.
While the Harvard Medical School Dean George Daly has expressed deep sorrow and empathy for the families of donors, the future course of action remains to be seen.
Well, before we head into a very short break for now, here's a quick look at the images drawing our attention from across the globe.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their homes. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their times, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. Week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
In the last 12 months, India's defense technology has taken some big steps forward. INS Mahendragiri is bringing stealth, sensors and networked systems to the sea. Rustam is giving the forces an unmanned eye that can stay aloft for hours. And INS Malwan is designed to hunt submarines in shallow coastal waters. How do you stop a swarm of drones? That is where Bhargavastra comes in. India's indigenous counter-drone system is designed to detect and deal with unmanned aerial threats, including multiple drones approaching a protected area. But the threat is not always in the sky. Out at sea, India needs warships that can see first. Commissioned this year, Mahendragiri is the 6th Project 17A stealth frigate to join the Indian Navy. Mahendragiri's design is intended to reduce its signature, making it harder for an adversary to detect and track. Developed by the Aeronautical Development Establishment, Rustam is an indigenous family of medium-altitude, long-endurance unmanned aerial vehicles.
welcome back. You're watching World DNA with Samiksha. I'm Kripa. Let's get started with the top headlines of this hour.
India removes unauthorized structures outside Pakistan's High Commission in New Delhi. Days after Islamabad dismantled parking poles outside India's mission, the tit-for-tat action comes amid strained bilateral ties.
BJP President Nitin Nabin slams Congress over its decision to sing only 2 stanzas of national song Vande Mataram at party events, calling the opposition the New Muslim League for allegedly appeasing voters.
Well, we have things that we could sanction. We have very draconian sanctions, and we'll see what happens. Right now, the strait is open. A lot of boats are coming through. People aren't reporting that.
Donald Trump says the Strait of Hormuz remains open with lots of boats passing through, despite renewed tensions with Iran and shipping slowing as operators avoid the key waterway.
United Kingdom summons Israel's chargé d'affaires and demands a halt to the WION settlement project in the West Bank after Israel opens bidding for more than 1,200 homes.
Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel sent Turkey a clear message against military entrenchment in Syria, tacitly acknowledging a strike near Aleppo and warns that Turkish forces threaten Israel.
Bangladesh lawmakers to vote today to elect a new president, choosing between BNP leader Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir and opposition candidate Colonel Oli Ahmed in the country's first presidential vote in 35 years.
At least 23 people killed and 5 others injured in a head-on collision between a bus and truck on a highway in Brazil's Paraná. Police say that the truck crossed into the opposite lane that led to the crash.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are reportedly returning to the UK with their 2 children within weeks, even planning to settle in a private, non-royal residence outside London after 6 years in California.
Asian markets opened higher on Thursday, led by South Korea's Kospi, which jumped over 3%. Japan's Nikkei gained 0.66%, while Australia's ASX 200 rose 0.59% as regional stocks extended gains. Our top focus this hour, the Indian government has been stepping up its outreach to the Gen Z class.
The Prime Minister Modi-led government now is reportedly planning to send one union minister to a university every single day to engage directly with the students. Under the proposed one-day, one university program, a union minister will visit an assigned university, meet students and hear their views on a range of issues. The ministers will also talk about government welfare schemes with a focus aimed at young people and students.
According to reports, Union Education Minister Prahlad Joshi, as well as Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia have been tasked with coordinating with universities and ministers for these visits. The scale of the plan is notable. According to University Grants Commission data, India has around 1,300 universities. These include 57 central universities and as many as 522 state universities. The rest are deemed to be or private universities.
Noteworthy is the fact that the initiative comes in the backdrop of the Cockroach Janata Party's campaign and student protests over the NEET paper leak at Jantar Mantar in Delhi and in other parts of the country. Since then, the government has continued to put education, skills and employment for young people high on its agenda.
In his Independence Day address, Prime Minister Modi announced several measures aimed at students and young Indians. These included free online coaching and a program that focuses on artificial intelligence skills. But while the government has been trying to speak to the Gen Z, the phrase itself has also become a part of a different conversation altogether.
Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has taken a swipe at the growing use of the phrase "we are Gen Z," comparing to an OFT-quoted Indian trend of name-dropping influential relatives. He added that using the phrase as a threat over every perceived slight could quickly undermine the goodwill associated with Gen Z.
Well, the comments by Omar Abdullah came after a video surfaced on social media that showed a tourist confronting security personnel at a checkpoint in Kargil. In the video, the woman is heard saying, "We are Gen Z, we will not tolerate this," as she expressed frustration.
यहाँ से कोई नहीं हिलेगा। आपको जो समझना है समझो।
Together, the two developments show just how important Gen Z has become in India's public life. The government is looking to engage directly with young people, even as political leaders warn against using generational identity as a weapon in public debates. Pakistan has summoned US diplomats in Islamabad after the American ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, described Jammu and Kashmir as an important part of India.
Well, now this is a statement, Kripa, that's also been put out by Pakistan's foreign ministry that said it strongly condemned and categorically rejected the characterization and termed Sergio Gore's remarks as irresponsible.
Gore, who is also President Trump's special envoy for South and Central Asia, made the comments on Wednesday during his first trip to Jammu and Kashmir. It is the first by a US ambassador since 2020, when Kenneth I. Juster visited the Union Territory.
To be here. As everybody here knows, I'm the U.S. Ambassador to India, and this is an important part of India, and so I'm here visiting for the first time. It is an incredibly beautiful place, and so I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled to see this place. We just had a very good meeting, and we have some follow-ups that we hope to take back to Washington, back to Delhi, but a very warm, a very cordial, and we look forward to building this relationship forward.
Sergio Gore praised security improvement while stating that the government in New Delhi as well as the government in Srinagar have taken incredible steps to keep this area safer and making it more safe. He also indicated that Washington might reassess its long-standing Level 4 do not travel advisory that covers most of Jammu and Kashmir. The remarks also mark a notable shift in tone and tenor from previous US positions that have often treated the status of Jammu and Kashmir with caution while trying to balance out between India and Pakistan.
Meanwhile, Pakistan continues to claim the territory and occupies part of the Indian territory. Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir has been rocked by violence in the last few months, with the occupying Pakistan military indulging in a brutal crackdown.
In other news then, Pakistan has urged Google to take a more proactive role, and that is in detecting and even removing militant propaganda from online platforms.
It said extremist groups, they are increasingly exploiting social media to spread fear, recruit supporters and incite violence. And this comes as Google has officially launched its corporate office in the country, marking a significant expansion of the tech giant's operations. Pakistani officials say closer cooperation with global tech firms is critical to curb online radicalization.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif unveiled the office alongside Wilson White, Google's Vice President for Government Affairs and Public Policy. White led a 9-member delegation that met Sharif in Islamabad. Welcoming the delegation, he said that Pakistan was undergoing a major digital transformation and went on to highlight the government's Digital Nation Pakistan vision.
Islamabad's appeal comes as it continues to battle persistent militant attacks, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, where insurgent violence has surged over the past year. Authorities say stronger cooperation from technology companies. It is essential to prevent the digital spread of what they call extremist content.
Pakistan's push for tighter online content controls games, and this amid growing international scrutiny over press freedom and media restrictions in the country. Recent government directives require foreign journalists to obtain prior permission before reporting outside Islamabad, Lahore and Karachi. This move has also triggered sharp criticism from media rights groups who warn that the rules could tighten state control over reporting and even deepen censorship and foster self-censorship among journalists.
Now, Pakistan ranks 153 out of 180 countries on the 2026 World Press Freedom Index. Media watchdogs cite intimidation, surveillance and mounting restrictions on independent reporting as key threats to press freedom. As Nigeria gears up for January elections, President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid faces a litmus test.
Well, adding to that, Kripa, Tinubu faces a politically fraught question, and that is, are Nigerians better off after more than a decade of rule by All Progressives Congress?
The answer could actually shape the presidential contest against former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, who have built their appeal on widespread frustration over economic hardship and insecurity. The challengers argue the APC's nearly 12 years in power has left Africa's most populous country poorer, more indebted and more safer than when the party swept into office in 2015, then under the leadership of Muhammadu Buhari. The incumbent president, however, disagrees to this.
There is no doubt that the reform has occasioned hardship. I feel your pains. Yet, the unnecessary repairs required to fix the economy over the long run so that everyone has access to economic opportunity, fair pay, and compensation for his endeavor and labor.
As campaigns kick off across the country, many voters judge the economy less by macroeconomic gains than by the cost of putting food on the table. In fact, few Nigerian presidents moved as quickly on economic policy as Tinubu himself. He scrapped a costly decades-old fuel subsidy and twice devalued the Naira, which is the Nigerian currency. The reforms delivered changes long sought by investors and international leaders, but also unleashed a shock across households, thereby fueling protests.
Based on the data that we got from the Food Sentiment Tracker, 4 in 5 Nigerians think that the country is headed in the wrong direction. The top concerns are the economy and security. Depending on which region of the country, it could be the economy or security. But in all the regions of the country, these are the two top concerns.
Tinubu's challenge is compounded by the risk that voters will not only judge him on his own record, but also look back at his predecessor's legacy. For many voters, the election may hinge on whether life is safer and more affordable now than when the APC first promised change in 2015.
The APC swept to power more than a decade ago, pledging to defeat Islamist insurgents, curb corruption and revive an economy hit by low oil prices. Instead, Nigeria slipped into its first recession in 25 years, while inflation hit record highs above 33% and growth remained sluggish. Moving on then, cruising at 35,000 feet exposes airline crew to an invisible, lethal hazard from deep space.
Now, a massive study examining more than 12 million death certificates reveals that flight attendants and pilots face the highest risk of dying from radiation-linked cancers among all occupations. Watch our report.
The cabin looks safe. The sky outside looks empty. But thousands of kilometers above Earth, high-energy particles from space are passing through the aircraft. Every passenger gets some exposure. Aircrew gets much more. A new study analyzed more than 12 million US death certificates. The study, published by JAMA Internal Medicine, shows that flight attendants had the highest proportion of deaths from cancers associated with radiation, while pilots ranked second. Researchers found about 6.9% of deaths among flight attendants and 6.7% among pilots were from these cancers, compared with about 5% were among the broader working population. Well, that is a striking difference. But there is an important warning. The study does not prove that cosmic radiation caused those deaths. Researchers could not measure the radiation dose received by each individual. Other factors could also play a role, including disrupted sleep patterns and repeated travel across time zones. So what exactly happens at 30,000 feet? Well, Earth's atmosphere normally shields us from much of the radiation coming from space. Aircraft fly above a large part of that protection. The higher the aircraft flies, the greater the exposure. Flights at high latitudes and near the poles can also produce higher doses. For an ordinary passenger, however, the risk remains very small. Experts say radiation from air travel is low and unlikely to affect health. But the situation is different for someone flying thousands of hours. Pilots and cabin crew can accumulate radiation exposure repeatedly over years, and that is why scientists are paying closer attention to aircrew. The American Public Health Agency, CDC, says aircrew may be more likely to develop certain cancers, including skin cancer, while female aircrew may have a higher risk of breast cancer, and the risk is not limited to radiation. Long working hours, jet lag, and disrupted body clocks may also affect health. So for passengers, there is no reason to panic about your next flight. For people who spend their careers in the sky, however, the question is much bigger. The invisible environment at 30,000 feet may be part of the occupational risk they carry every day.
Pakistan is set to get some relief at the fuel pump, with the government announcing a reduction in the price of diesel after negotiations with local oil refineries.
Well, this move in Pakistan comes as diesel prices have surged sharply in recent months, largely driven by high international petroleum prices amid the escalating conflict in the West Asia region.
The government now says diesel prices will come down by more than 30 to 32 Pakistani rupees per litre. Petroleum Minister Ali Parvez Malik said the reduction was agreed after 2 to 3 virtual meetings with oil refineries following Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's intervention. Final price will be calculated and notified by OGRA.
To understand the scale of the change, diesel had reached a record 520.35 Pakistani rupees a litre on 3rd of April. Its price had risen from around 281 Pakistani rupees a litre after the US-Iran conflict began on 28th of February. That means diesel had climbed by roughly 239 Pakistani rupees per litre from that level to its April peak.
The price relief comes after major protests across Pakistan over sharp fuel price hikes. Demonstrators have taken to the streets in recent weeks, protesting the soaring cost of diesel and other petroleum products. The government is now facing pressure to ease the burden on households, farmers and businesses as high fuel costs feed into transport and everyday prices.
The government says the main pressure is coming from international markets. According to the petroleum minister, the refined product margin for diesel has reached $60 to $70 a barrel over crude oil. Pakistan is particularly exposed, and that is because a significant share of the diesel that is consumed domestically comes while locally refined crude supplied to oil marketing companies.
And the impact goes well beyond motorists. Diesel-powered tractors and tube wells used by farmers, while buses, trucks and other goods transport vehicles also depend heavily on it. So cheaper diesel could eventually reduce transportation and agricultural cost, although the extent of any wider price relief will depend on how much of the saving is passed through the supply chain.
The government says it has already spent heavily to cushion customers. Petroleum Minister Ali Parvez Malik says more than $360 million was allocated over the past 3 to 4 months to shield the public from rising fuel prices. Information Minister Ataullah Tarar put the broader figure to $468 million, which includes subsidies and even targeted subsidies. Let's shift focus to the world of tech then. China has rejected US pressure to countries in order to choose sides in the global AI race.
They say nations should be free to choose their own technology partners, and the response comes after Reuters reported that US is preparing to warn dozens of countries that they could be excluded from a US-led AI coalition if they also join China's rival framework. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said Beijing opposed taking sides or forming camps over AI.
The international community expects extensive cooperation on artificial intelligence. Each country has the right to choose its partners based on its national conditions and development needs. China firmly opposes taking sides and engaging in bloc confrontation on AI-related issues.
The comments come as Washington steps up efforts to limit China's influence over the global AI ecosystem. The US State Department has prepared a draft letter for 35 countries, which signed a US-backed AI opportunity statement in June. The letter warns them against joining China's competing AI framework.
The move also builds on Pax Silica, a US-led initiative to secure supply chains for AI, semiconductors and critical minerals. Around 24 countries have joined Pax Silica, including US allies Japan, Australia and South Korea. But Kazakhstan has joined both the US initiative and China's rival coalition, raising concerns in Washington.
The US wants to reduce China's access to the resources needed in order to develop more powerful AI, including advanced chips, critical minerals, AI models, and computing infrastructure. China, meanwhile, is building its own international framework network of AI.
In July, President Xi Jinping launched the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization, promoting China's open-weight AI technology as an alternative to US influence. India beat arch rivals Pakistan 5-3 in a highly entertaining match at the Hockey World Cup.
Well, this victory means that India sealed their spot in the second round of the tournament, while Pakistan crash out.
India have not lost to Pakistan in men's hockey since 2016, and they ensured that run continued with a fine attacking display in the Netherlands. Captain Harmanpreet Singh scored twice, while player of the match Abhishek also bagged a brace. Hardik Singh scored the 5th goal for the Indians. Pakistan also played their part in a thrilling contest, and Hanan Shahid found the net twice for the record 4-time world champions. This was the first World Cup clash between the two sides since 2010, and it certainly lived up to the hype. Unlike their cricket counterparts, both sets of players shook hands after the match.
India's win means they are through to the second round along with England from Pool D. England hammered Wales 8-2 earlier in the day to ensure they finish top of the pool. The second stage of the tournament sees the 8 qualified teams divided into 2 further groups. Points will be carried forward from the pool stage, and the top 2 teams from the 2 groups in the second stage will qualify for the semi-finals. Well, in some interesting news then, a new Barbie doll honoring Marilyn Monroe's 100th birthday is now out.
Monroe would have turned 100 on June 1st. She was born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926, and to honor her 100th birthday anniversary, toy maker Mattel has launched a special Barbie doll. A figure dressed in the iconic look from her performance of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. This includes a strapless hot pink dress with an oversized bow trimmed in black and diamond accessories. This is the 7th Barbie created since 1997 to celebrate Monroe's enduring legacy, and this one is priced at $81. Monroe rose from a childhood in foster homes to become one of the most recognizable figures in the world.
She is best known for the 1950s films Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, How to Marry a Millionaire, and the 7-Year Itch. Her life was marked by high-profile marriages, including to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller. She died on 5th of August, 1962, at the age of 36.
With those stories, it's a wrap of this edition of World DNA. We'll get you more news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned to WION World is One. Thank you for watching.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. Week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their homes. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their times, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or the same year and led Les Bleus to Euro glory in 2000. As a manager, Zidane delivered an unprecedented 3 straight Champions League.